This is a unique election in the sense that we have basically two incumbents. You have Joe Biden, who's running for a second term, and Donald Trump, who's running for a second term, right? And so how did Joe Biden do in South Carolina? 96.2% of the vote. Donald Trump got 60%, and 4 in 10 voters in the Republican Party said no. Even though they know that the race is pretty much over, that he's going to be the nominee, they still voted against him. That is a problem, because when he says this is the most united Republican Party he's ever seen, it is not the most united Republican Party, and 59% of those Haley voters say they're not voting for him.
This is Mark Thiessen, who, by the way, is no token liberal. He was a speechwriter for Republican President George W. Bush and is now a Fox News contributor. And he's dropping some really unfortunate truths on Donald Trump as far as the way that this primary is shaking out is concerned. And first off, he sets the stage quite well by explaining that both Donald Trump and Joe Biden are running as incumbents, which isn't controversial. They were both presidents, and even Trump has said that he's running as the incumbent. But what that does is allows us to compare apples to apples, which isn't great for Trump. Because in this last primary in South Carolina, Donald Trump didn't even break 60%. Meanwhile, Joe Biden got 96%. Both Trump and Biden had other candidates on the ballot, plenty of options to wage protest votes if anyone was looking to do that. And one party's voters did, while the other party's voters didn't. That is a really bad sign for Trump heading toward November. And of course, we also don't have to guess whether Trump is at risk of losing voters because they're outright saying it. 59% of Haley voters, who again comprise a staggering 40% of the Republican primary electorate, came out and said as much, that if Donald Trump is the nominee, they won't vote for him. For a guy who's so focused right now should be expanding support into independents and young people and people of color and even Democrats, the fact that he's instead failing to consolidate support even within his own party is a major issue for Trump. And let's be clear, if you think these numbers are bad now, just wait until Trump begins his criminal prosecutions in earnest. I know that the media loves nothing more than to focus on Biden's age, but when Trump is sitting in a courtroom in New York or DC or Florida for these upcoming trials, that is all people are going to see every single day. And while him facing the possibility of being a convicted felon might be no big deal for the most avid followers, regular Americans are not going to be falling over themselves to vote for a convicted felon. If you think Trump has a problem with independents and suburban moms now, just wait until he's found guilty in any of the 4 trials on any of the 91 criminal charges against him. We're about to enter uncharted territory, and it will only have the effect of hurting him. Which is why I'm warning you now that the GOP will start working in overdrive to distract everyone from the spate of bad news that's about to surround Trump. I mean, think about it. Already they've been quadrupling down on this debunked story fed to Jim Jordan and James Comer by Russian ops, suggesting that some pay-for-play scheme between Hunter and Joe Biden existed. If they're that desperate that they're going to lift straight Russian disinformation now, just wait to see what they're willing to do when their God King is sitting inside of a courtroom every day. The hair-on-fire distraction efforts are going to reach levels unseen before. And by the way, that's a point that I made during my most recent appearance with Stephanie Ruhle.
These are tangible things, right? Junk fees, lower prescription drug prices, with the exception of the companies that put these fees upon us. It's not political. Everybody likes this. Why isn't it sinking in, or is it, and it's not enough to move the needle?
I think part of the reason it's not sinking in is because there is a coordinated campaign to distract us from watching all this. I mean, you've been speaking about the fact that the Republicans in the House are so focused on this, what we now know is a Russian disinformation campaign to prove some non-existent, fraud between Joe and Hunter Biden. I mean, that is to distract the American people from the fact that what Biden is accomplishing in office is delivering tangible wins. I mean, legislatively, we have PACT Act, CHIPS Act, the American Rescue Plan, the infrastructure package, the gun safety law, the Inflation Reduction Act, canceling, almost $150 billion for 3.9 million borrowers and adding 14.5 million jobs. I mean, these are wins on top of wins. So the Republicans are desperate to make sure that we can't see this stuff. Again, they will stop at nothing to distract us, because the reality is that Biden and the Democrats have been able to do what Republicans will never be able to do: govern. Think about the whole list of accomplishments that I just reeled off. Democrats were able to do that in 2 years. What have Republicans done with their time in office? Well, they took a shit ton of time to elect a speaker, then they fired that speaker, then they took a shit ton more time to elect another speaker, all the while passing the least amount of bills of any Congress in modern U.S. history. These people are not there to govern, they are there to entrench dysfunction. They want to show you that government can't work so that they can then turn around and say, see, we told you that government can't work. The only solution here is to elect small government Republicans like us so that we can get rid of it altogether. Of course, what they don't tell you is that the only reason it doesn't work is because they are intentionally sabotaging it. Because when you've got folks in office who do believe in the fundamental mission of government, then it works well. Again, almost 15 million jobs added, 24 straight months of sub 4% unemployment, inflation is down, wages are up, consumer sentiment is surging. This isn't an accident. This is what happens when competent people are put in charge. You wouldn't hire an arsonist as a park ranger. Why would you hire one to control the US government? Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to this channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.